Okay, time for a new video, and whether you are somebody new to my channel or you are returning to my channel to watch this video, it's greatly appreciated. As always, I'm filming this in one go, therefore I apologise in advance if I stumble over any words going forwards, and indeed if the quality of this video is fairly poor as well, if there's any lag, anything like that at all, sadly it can't be helped, and hopefully it's not too much of an issue for you. This is yet another Eurovision 2020 related video here on my channel, and it is time, ladies and gentlemen, to tell you my prediction for this year's contest, which of course isn't happening. As I'm filming this, it's the 7th of May, and about this time, under normal circumstances, we would have been enjoying the rehearsals, we would have been making a lot of predictions as to which countries would have qualified, or which countries maybe have damaged their chances because of dodgy staging, things like that. Alas, the contest isn't happening at all. It would have been at the Ahoy in Rotterdam in the Netherlands, but instead there are replacement shows being broadcast instead. Anyway, I made predictions for the first semi-final and the second semi-final, and you can watch those videos on my channel if you so wish. In fact, if you haven't seen those videos, I recommend that you do so, otherwise this video might be a bit of a spoiler for you. Just to recap, anyway, the countries that I predicted would have gone through from the semi-finals, beginning with semi-final 1. Let's have a look here. So, Russia would have qualified, Romania would have qualified, Australia would have qualified, Lithuania, Malta, Israel, Norway, Azerbaijan, Sweden, and Ukraine. Those are the countries that I predicted would have gone through from semi-final 1. And how I came to make those predictions was by giving each country, each act, each artist a mark out of 100 in various categories, such as whether it was jury friendly or not, because of course the juries do prefer maybe more conservative songs than ones that are really out there more often than not. I also took into consideration the betting odds, the online fan response, lots of different things, how well the live vocals might have been in Rotterdam, etc, etc. The countries that I think would have gone through from semi-final 2 include Serbia, Poland, Switzerland, Iceland, Greece, Albania, Austria, Armenia, Bulgaria and Denmark. Those are in a random order, by the way, but I have the statistics in front of me. So those are the countries that I think would have gone through from semi-final 1 and semi-final 2. Now it is time to tell you what I think would have happened in the grand final. I have, purely for the purposes of this video, put together a running order. Each country was randomly assigned a half. That includes the automatic finalists, bar the Netherlands. So the running order, not that it really matters at all here, but anyway, Song 1, Serbia, Poland 2, Austria 3, France 4, Greece 5, Romania 6, Iceland 7, UK 8, Azerbaijan 9, Bulgaria 10, Albania 11, Germany 12, Norway 13, Israel 14, Australia 15, Malta 16, Switzerland 17, Armenia 18, Italy 19, Russia 20, Denmark 21, Ukraine 22, of course the Netherlands 23. That was assigned anyway in real life during that brief EBU-related draw. Spain 24, Sweden 25, and Lithuania 26. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sort this via the average mark that each country has, based on the categories again. I didn't really look at how I worked out the semi-final predictions or anything like that. This was just its own thing. So I took into consideration the betting odds, the online fan response, whether the song appeared jury-friendly or not, whether the juries would actually go big for it or not at all. And then I have ended up with an average mark out of 100, and that is how I've come to this prediction. And I've made predictions for years and years and years. This must be the 7th or 8th year in a row that I've predicted. I am going to sort this properly now. That, and that. Oh, that's the wrong way. Of course it is. Oh, what a messy, messy, messy video this is already. Largest to smallest, thank you. So, I wouldn't take this too seriously, ladies and gentlemen. This is just a bit of fun, and I have to say I'm not entirely sure about some of these predictions, but that's just how it turned out. So here we go. I'm going to go through the songs from bottom to top and give you my thoughts, and you can feel free to agree or disagree with me. Leave a comment below letting me know what you think. A lot of people have done this. online simulators and things like that. I haven't seen many people make a video similar to this one, where it's just sit down, talk in front of the camera. But anyway, I'm going to get into it now. The country that I think would have finished in 26th place, and with a mark of 52.42 overall, is France. And this, of course, is an automatic qualifier. I don't have this page loaded up either. But we know, of course, that the French entry is Tom Lieb. Pretty good singer, but unfortunately his song, a big disappointment, I think it's fair to say. Mon Allier, is that? The Best in Me. Let's just call it The Best in Me. Tom Lieb, there he is, quite a handsome chap, 31, born in Paris. And there was a lot of hype, I think, surrounding the French entry this year, because Madame Monsieur in 2018 were pretty good. Amir, a couple of years before that, was very good. Alma was pretty good as well. And also Bilal Hassani in Tel Aviv last year was indeed one of the favourites to win the day of the contest, and then ultimately finished nowhere. So a lot riding on this. France went internal, and I think there was a bit of desperation from the French broadcaster. They thought, we have gone backwards for several years now. How do we rectify this? We get a bunch of Swedes in to do the job for us. John Lundvik, of course, the Swedish representative last year, and also co-writer of the British entry, which finished last in Tel Aviv. He co-wrote this song, The Best in Me. It's a rather musical-esque ballad. Quite dramatic, maybe a little bit over the top, maybe. Certainly, when the song was released, there Tom Lieb was, performing at the Eiffel Tower, of course, only building in France. And, I mean, he sang well. But the song was just really quite dull. And I think the fan response was rather negative. Now, I know that there has been a revamped version, which is more acoustic, more pleasant, maybe a little bit more summery, you could say, and I have listened to it, and I really don't think it's that bad at all. But would this have received enough points to finish anywhere but the bottom 5? No, I don't think so, and that is why, for me, France would have finished last in this year's grand final, and John Lundvik would have co-written 2 last-placed entries in a row. And I really don't want to say this, but I think I will. France deserved it. If this year's contest was going ahead and France finished last, they deserved to. Because I think it really was an act of desperation from the broadcaster. Nothing wrong with Tom. He just needed a much better song than this to really show off what he can do. Because I'm sure with a different song, maybe something more upbeat, the fan response would be a lot warmer. This song, on the other hand, really quite dreary, would have struggled, no doubt about it. Moving on, what a ramble, dear. Hopefully this video's not going to turn out too badly. But anyway, finishing in 25th place with a mark of 54.71. It's another automatic qualifier, I'm afraid. It's Spain. This is Blas Canto with Universo. There he is, another fairly handsome chap, 28. He's from Murcia. And the song, Universo, which means universe, of course, this was one of the first songs revealed for the 2020 contest. Internal selection. Spain changing things up. Of course, they had Operación Triunfo for several years, but that wasn't really working for them. So anyway, Blas, again, pretty good singer, but the song a little underwhelming. Doesn't really go anywhere. It's very safe, quite bland. The vocals seem fine. He can sing this song live pretty well. But I'm sure the staging would have been a little uninspired. Maybe there wouldn't have been much staging to speak of anyway. There's that high note towards the end, and if he didn't hit that note, his chances would have been scuppered right away, as far as I'm concerned. Was the high note really necessary? I don't know. But anyway, Spain just love the bottom 5 at Eurovision, and as hard as they try, this year they would have ended up in the bottom 5 again. I feel pretty confident about that. Maybe France would have received a fair bit of jury love, potentially. It would have been the public half of the votes that let Tom Lieb down. Might have been the same case for Spain, but perhaps the other way around. Let's not forget that in Tel Aviv last year, Mickey with Lavender, I think he got 1 measly point from the juries, which is outrageous even to this day. I just don't understand that. But anyway, Blas Canto, fine singer, disappointing song. who would have really voted for this in big numbers? No country that I can think of. As a result, in the bottom three. Moving on, 24th place. Now, I'm really unsure about this one, but when I look at the songs above this song, I suppose it makes sense, maybe? Finishing in 24th place with a mark of 56. It's Chains on You by Athena Manoukian, the Armenian entry. Now, this song really isn't my cup of tea. The original version I didn't like much at all. I thought it was very cheap. I thought it was rather messily staged. The revamp changed things for a lot of people. This song now has a lot more support, a lot more fans. Athena's a big star in her own country. And this song, I suppose it's R&B, meets rap, meets pop. It's a blend of those styles. I think this would have been a standout performance, actually, in Rotterdam. It would have been quite fierce and flashy and slick. Would it have been messy still? Potentially. But the reason this song was one of my semi-final 2 qualifiers, I think, is because of that growing fan support. The juries, on the other hand, I really don't think would have gone big for this. I think they would have found it a little bit too jarring. The genre, the style of this song, not necessarily the sort of things the juries would go big for. As a result, 24th out of 26 countries for me in this little prediction that I've made. What else is there to say about it? Certainly I can listen to the studio version and enjoy it for what it is. That's something that I couldn't really do before. The original version I thought was really quite weak indeed. But now, if this year's contest had been going ahead, I would have felt pretty sure Armenia would have qualified from semi-final 2. Let me know what you think. Anyway, moving on, dearie me, 23rd place with a mark of 57.42 is Alive by Vincent Bueno, which is the Austrian entry. Now, arguably, this is one of the more forgotten about entries of this year's lineup. Vincent Bueno, semi-final 2 first half, so he would have been performing next Thursday. This song, very much in the mould of Justin Timberlake, maybe Justin Bieber, those sorts of artists. Again, this is fairly slick, quite poppy, but also fairly unoriginal, it has to be said. Vincent Bueno, I think he's in his mid to late 30s now. He's 34. He's Austrian-Filipino. I think he would have performed this quite well. It would have been a fairly energetic performance. The song itself, though, as I've said before, in my opinion, I think it's very average. You know, this would have been lost in the mix. And as for the running order that I've put together, Austria performing third would have damaged their chances straight from the off. I really don't know what else to say about this. It's a fine song, but I think people would have forgotten it very quickly. The staging may have helped matters. I'm sure there would have been a fair bit of choreography. But yeah, I don't think this would have done that well. Saying that, maybe this would have been a surprise jury hit. The reason I say that is because of that Euro jury vote that there was last week, I think it was, that Eurovoix, one of the Eurovision related websites, they organised it, I think, and Austria did quite well in the jury vote there. That's what makes me think that potentially, had this year's contest been going ahead, Austria might have done quite well in the jury vote, but poorly in the public vote. We'll never know. Let me know what you think. 22nd place with a mark of 58. And this song really isn't that bad. There was a revamp. The original version in that country's own language was fine. But for me, personally, the revamp is stronger. Great, promising young female musician front and centre. Now in English, this song. It is Albania, Fall From The Sky by Arilena Ara. And this song, yeah, it's grown on me a fair bit. Usually, I'll be honest, I do not like Albania's songs in the contest, because they always seem to send the same thing, a female-driven ballad. Fine, but not my cup of tea half the time. This song, on the other hand, yeah, I really don't mind it. I think it would have been performed well, I think the vocals would have been on the money, and Albania, I think, would have sneaked in as a qualifier, just as they did last year. I mean, last year I know that Jonida Milici had a lot of support, but I wasn't that convinced she was going to qualify, but she did okay, I guess, in the final. This song, I think, would have done as well, maybe slightly worse off. I really don't know. But yeah, 22nd place. I think that's reasonable. Let me know what you think, of course. Moving on, 21st place. And this song is an automatic qualifier. I think you know which one I'm going to say here. A mark of 59.57. It's very difficult to say how well this song would have done. I'm sure that this male musician would have performed it well enough. I'm sure his vocals would have been all right. The staging might have been a massive disappointment, as it was last year for the United Kingdom. This is My Last Breath by James Newman. That music video of him walking in the snow was pretty good, but of course you're not voting on the music video. This song's fine. Again, quite safe from the BBC, but arguably a step up from Michael Rice. The issue with his entry last year in Tel Aviv was that the staging was really poor and the UK was sandwiched between Norway and Iceland, two songs that were obviously going to do much better than Bigger Than Us. This year, My Last Breath is really not a bad song. I mean, I suppose it's fairly radio friendly, and James is not a bad singer. Would he have had a lot of stage presence? I don't know. Would the staging have been better than last year? I don't know. Surely it would have been better. But again, like the Spanish entry and the Austrian song, this would have been lost in the mix, especially if James was on early in the grand final running order. I'd like to see the UK take more of a risk, not an electro velvet risk. Let's not do that again. But certainly I think the UK need to pay more attention to what other countries are doing, like Lithuania, like Iceland, like Malta even. I mean, the Maltese entry, in all honesty, isn't massively different from the British song. It's the same sort of genre, same sort of style, but the Maltese entry is just so much stronger somehow. I don't know. I don't think the BBC learn too much from their mistakes. And I think what we had this year was a more serious approach, but sadly with a similar outcome. One thing's for sure, I think My Last Breath would have done better in the voting than Bigger Than Us, but the UK really struggles in the public vote. That might have happened again. Moving on, 20th place with a mark of 60.71. Not too sure about this. Some Eurovision fans think this would have been a non-qualifier next week. Interesting, because it's a country that always qualifies. It is Ukraine. This is Solove, which means nightingale, I believe, by Go A, female-driven vocals. This is in that white voice singing style that we saw last year with Tulia for Poland, and they didn't go through. It was a very close-run thing, but they didn't qualify from semi-final 1 in Tel Aviv. This song isn't wildly different. It's an interesting mixture of genres, I feel. It's a bit pop, it's a bit traditional. I think this would have stood out a lot. I think the staging would have been similar to the national final. And I think what we would have seen is a similar situation to 2 years ago with Melovin, who really struggled in the jury vote but did quite well in the public result. I think we might have seen something similar next week had this year's contest been going ahead with Go A, had they qualified in the first place. I think the juries maybe would have given this some love, but certainly not enough to finish very high up, whereas the public, who usually do give Ukraine a fair amount of points, yeah, I think 20th place maybe a little low, but maybe you'll agree with me that that's about right. Do you think Ukraine would have even qualified? I don't know. Anyway, I don't mind the song at all. It's in Ukrainian, round of applause for that, and I suppose it brings a very different style and flavour to the lineup as well, which is very refreshing. Moving on, 19th place, with a mark of 62.42. This is a song that, this is a song that I think the juries would have really damaged, whereas the public, I think, would have been a little bit warmer towards it. Saying that, last year, and I did take this into consideration, last year with this particular country, they had a song that was expected to do quite well and flopped, both in the jury and the public vote, it's fair to say. Would we have seen something similar in Rotterdam? Possibly. It's Greece, Supergirl by Stefania, young female musician who, of course, does have a fair bit of experience because she was part of Kisses, who represented the Netherlands in Junior Eurovision years ago. Anyway, this song, it does feel a little bit like a Junior Eurovision entry. It is quite safe. It's a pop number. Music video's not bad. She's rescuing a cat from a tree. I remember that much. Would this have been good live? I don't know. I'm not sure what the plans were for the staging. Yeah, I mean, I think people would have certainly voted for this, but just not in huge numbers once again. And Greece might have finished towards the bottom half, as I've predicted here. Certainly I don't think this is top 10 material. I'm not sure it's top 15 material, but I do quite like the song. And I do think it would have qualified, definitely. If it had been in semi-final 1, maybe not. Greece's form has been a little bit hit and miss for the past few years. But anyway, Greece in 19th place. Moving on to 18th place. And yeah, I think this is again a very reasonable result, a very respectable result for this song. It is Poland. And this is Empires by Alicja. Another great young female musician with a fantastic voice. She would have nailed this live, I know it for sure, and I'm sure all Eurovision fans would agree with me. She would have been on point in Rotterdam next week. This song is a ballad. It builds up quite nicely. It's quite dramatic. You've got that long note towards the end, which I think would have received a warm round of applause. This song then, yeah, I mean, it's nothing we haven't heard before. That's the issue, and that's why I think Poland wouldn't have finished much higher than 18th. Yeah, would it have qualified? I think so. Poland, obviously not in the final last year or the year before, but I don't think they would have made it 3 years in a row without a final. Yeah, this song isn't that bad. It's all about the vocals. The vocals would have been the thing that the juries would have gravitated towards. We know that Poland do have a bit of a diaspora, so I'm sure that would have helped out matters, but at the same time, not in Michał Szpak numbers, as we saw in 2016. So anyway, 18th place for Poland. I think that's a fair result. 17th place. This is a little bit low. Some people would say that this is the trashiest entry of the year, the cheapest entry of the year. I get that. I have listened to this song a fair bit over the past few weeks. I think it's really strong. I think it would have been a real standout performance. It would have been fierce, powerful, sexy. There would have been pyros and fire and flashing lights. It could have been this year's Fuego moment. It's Serbia, Hurricane with Asta La Vista. This is one of Serbia's leading groups. 3 women, Sanja Vucic and Knez, who represented Montenegro in 2015. His daughter's involved in this group. This is sassy, it's strong, it's powerful. It's a little bit over the top, but it would have stood out. And this is exactly the sort of song that the public would have responded to with a fair amount of points. The juries less so. I think the juries would have just bypassed this, especially if Serbia were on early in the running order. I feel very confident that this would have qualified and received a lot of praise and warmth from the public. But yeah, I think the juries would have totally dismissed it. Hence why no higher than 17th here. It feels a bit low, but then looking at the songs above it, maybe 17th is about right for Hurricane. I really like the song. I like the band. I think it would have been a very good performance indeed. But 17th place. Moving on to 16th place with a mark of 65. Should say, I don't know if I mentioned this, but Greece 62.42, Poland 62.71, Serbia 64.85, and now 16th place with 65 points. It's Australia. This is my second favourite of the year. Liked it from the moment I heard it. I knew it was going to be good because Montaigne has released some very good music in the past. She is in her mid-20s pretty much. Don't Break Me, the name of the song. The national final performance wasn't brilliant, but it certainly wasn't bad. Some people criticised her vocals. Obviously, they would have been stronger in Rotterdam next week. And I think the staging would have been quite different as well. Let's not forget Kate Miller-Heidke last year. People criticised the staging at the national final, and then the staging blew people away in Tel Aviv. Would we have seen something similar this year? I don't know. Probably not. The issue with the staging, back at the Australian national selection several months ago, was that it was pretty much all one camera shot. The story that she was trying to tell didn't come across strong enough. She was wearing a blue wig, clown makeup, which seems to be her thing. and she had a couple of dancers with her. I thought it worked okay. It just needed to come across in a more easy to understand style. And I'm sure that the staging would have been much stronger had this year's contest been going ahead, and we would have seen it next week, we would have seen it in the rehearsals, etc, etc. Montaigne's a great singer, she'll be back next year. I think this is a really decent song. The issue with the Australian track for this year's contest, though, the public would just not have gone big for it, whereas the juries might have responded with 100 plus points, maybe, I don't know. The public, 20 or 30 maybe at a push, let's be realistic here, and as a result, 16th place. Finishing in 15th place with a mark of 68.14. This is Denmark. Ben and Tan with yes. Last year, people didn't think Denmark were probably going to qualify. Leonora scraped through and then wasn't terribly far away from a top 10 finish in the grand final. I mean, punching above their weight, Denmark, last year, I think it's fair to say. It was a very charming song, and charming songs, as I've always said, can do well in the contest if they're on the right side of charming. If it's too sweet and saccharine, people will go off it, I'm sure. But if it's sweet enough and charming and puts a smile on your face, the points will pour in. That's what would have happened with this song. I feel confident of it. It's really not a bad entry at all. Maybe it's a little bit too cliched, yes. Maybe it isn't that original, fair enough. The national final performance was pretty good. I think the orchestra they had at Dansk Melodi Grand Prix played a part. Sadly, no crowd there in Copenhagen. But anyway, I think this would have done very well. 15th place really would be a very respectable result for this song. I think you're looking at a very even mark with the juries and the public, maybe 65, 70 points each, so maybe about 130, 140 overall. Yeah, I like it. I think it's uplifting. I think it is quite sweet. I think it would have done quite well. Denmark, dark horses, I feel, had this year's contest been going ahead. Moving on, 14th place. This is Israel. Eden Elena with Feker Libi. A nice blend of languages, which is very refreshing to see and hear. Great young performer, fantastic vocals. I think there would have been a little bit more energy to this performance had this year's contest been going ahead. The Israeli national selection, the performance of this song was fine, but maybe not quite as vibrant and energetic as I would have liked. Let me know your thoughts on that. Maybe you agree with me, maybe you don't. But this song, fun, summery, uplifting, very similar to the Danish song in that respect. I think this would have done okay. Maybe it would have finished a little higher than 14th, in all honesty. But yeah, Israel's song is good. Took me a while to warm up to it, but it's a very good song. And she'll be back next year. Why, hey. Moving on, 13th place. 72.57 the mark for this, so quite a way ahead of Israel. And this is a song that's done very well in online fan simulators and fan polls and things like that. It's a very fierce song, similar to the Serbian track. It's Azerbaijan. This is Effendi, female performer, with Cleopatra. This is very slick. It's a big blast of pop. And again, this could have been this year's Fuego moment, maybe. I'm sure the vocals would have been good. It would have been a very striking and hard to forget sort of performance. I really don't have much to say about it, and I'm aware that this video is dragging on a bit. But the Azerbaijani song, yeah, it's pretty good. Let's be honest, it is a pretty damn good song, and it would have done well, but I've only got it in 13th place. In 12th place with a mark of 73, and I think this would have done much better than people would expect or anticipate. You know, coming into this year's contest, had it been going ahead, I just think this song would have been underrated until that magic moment in the grand final when this musician took to the stage, blew people away with his voice. Dark Horse. It's the host nation, the Netherlands. Jean-Guy McCroy, who has roots in Suriname, with Grow. Beautiful, beautiful ballad. Doesn't really build up until the last 30 seconds maybe, but it's a very personal, touching, emotionally charged song. Jean-Guy is an amazing vocalist. I believe he's back next year, which is great. And yeah, I mean, it's just haunting in a way. It really does sound very sparse to begin with, and then, you know, it becomes a bit richer in terms of the instrumentation as we go on. The music videos, quite nice as well. Underrated. Absolutely underrated. This is such a pretty song, and obviously the message, I'm sure, would resonate with a lot of people, young and old. Broad appeal. Juries surely would have appreciated this, more so than the public. Great song. Moving on, 11th place, 73.14 is the mark for this, so narrowly ahead of the Dutch. It's Roxanne with I'll Call You, or Alcohol You, for Romania. Romania's best entry in years. Probably one of the strongest songs they've ever had for Eurovision. The national final was strong anyway. Really impressive. And this song, Alcohol You, very much in the mould of Billie Eilish, yes, it has to be said. This style of music is popular, though, this sad pop. Except this isn't really pop, it is a ballad. The final chorus, which they changed to make it more uplifting in a way, more powerful, I think that works. Roxanne is a great singer. The staging, I think, would have been similar to the lyric video for this song, so quite stripped back, quite artistic maybe, and I think the public would have responded very warmly to this. I think it could have done exceptionally well in the public vote, because this style of music is popular right now. I think so, and I think the juries might have appreciated this a reasonable amount too. As such, 11th place, I think that's very reasonable, and I think somewhat accurate maybe. Let's move into the top 10. Now I'm going to try and be brief here because this video is getting very, very long indeed. Hopefully the quality is not too bad. 10th place, let me just move that over here. 75.42 the mark for this. It's Germany. And like Romania, Germany sending their strongest entry for years. This is Ben Dolic, who has roots in Slovenia, and the song is called Violent Thing. This is pure pop, radio friendly, quite slick, very catchy, exactly the sort of thing that the UK should be sending, but alas. Would he have performed well live? Yes, I feel sure he would have done. I'm sure the vocals would have been pretty good. And this would have got the crowd up on their feet, having a bit of a dance, having a bit of a boogie. It's a really good song. Maybe it would have finished higher than 10th. Maybe it could have pushed for the win. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But for me, this German song is really impressive, a step in the right direction. Will he be back next year? I'm not sure. I don't think there's been an announcement yet, but it would be wise for the German broadcaster to internally select him again, and if he wants to do it, great. Yeah, really impressive song. Makes you wonder how Germany have struggled over the past few years when they are capable of something like this. Anyway, 9th place, 79.85. This would have done better than expected, I think. Just like the Dutch song. This is also a ballad. It's beautiful. It's classy. It's Italy, ladies and gentlemen. Diodato with Fai Rumore, which means make noise. I wasn't too sure about this song when it won Sanremo. Took me a while to really appreciate it, but my word, this is a fabulous, fabulous song. It's already been a smash hit across Italy and most other parts of Europe. They've been singing this from the balconies in Italy when they've been in quarantine, self-isolation, that sort of thing. It really is a beautiful song. The message behind it, apparently it's about his ex-girlfriend who was involved in Sanremo as well. I wonder what she thought about it. But anyway, this song is great. I know I'm repeating myself here with so many of these songs, but it's such a wonderful song, builds up nicely, there's a dreamlike quality to it, very powerful vocals. I think it would have blown people away at Eurovision. I think the juries would have really responded to this. I think the public, who do usually show Italy a lot of love at Eurovision, I think they would have dished out the points as well. 9th place, I think that's about right. But if anything, maybe a little low. Finishing in 8th place, Sweden. Well, they always seem to finish in the top 10. This is the Mamas with Move. I think what we would have seen this year, maybe not so much as last year, or certainly the year before that with Benjamin Ingrosso, is the juries loving it a lot, but the public not so much. I think you've got to be looking at least 160 points maybe from the juries, and then probably about 70 or 80 from the public. This song, sort of gospel pop, not too dissimilar from Sweden's entry last year. The Mamas, of course, were John Lundvik's backing group, but they're now one member down. This won by a point in Melfest. You can see my reaction, live reaction to the Melfest results up on my channel. It's a bit of a messy video, but it is there if you want to watch it. I think Dotter certainly would have pushed for the win. Absolutely. The Mamas less so, but this is a very fine song. It's a very confident song. They would have performed it confidently. And it's powerful, and apparently there would have been an a cappella moment in this, which I think would have worked quite well. It's a very, very decent song. Sweden know what they're doing. They will win again soon, I'm sure. The Mamas would have finished in the top 10 with Move. No doubt about it. Moving on, 7th place. This is maybe a little bit controversial. It feels quite low, but I'm taking into consideration the fact that this is a love it or hate it song, and I think the juries... some of them would have completely ignored this. It's Russia, Little Big with Uno. Dos Cuatro, of course. Little Big are arguably Eastern Europe's biggest band. Certainly they're a huge deal in Russia. The music video for this was very, very interesting and quite comical, but in a good way, of course. Sort of stony-faced, staring into the camera, quite intense, and then you've got the guy to one side doing his sort of breakdancing moves. This song I really wasn't too sure about at first, but I like it more now. It's catchy. I've seen a live performance of this song as well, and it really wasn't too bad at all. The public would have dished out the points a lot for this. A lot. Might have won. That's what I'm trying to say. Might have won the jury, not the jury, the public vote. It's the juries that would have let this down. And certainly I think Little Big would have pushed for the win, but maybe not intensely pushed for the win, if that's the right word to use. Yeah. It's refreshing. It's a little bit silly, but and I'm glad that Russia have sent something like this because it's very different for them. And it's an artist we haven't had at Eurovision before. We've had Sergei already, and yeah, we've had Dima twice, haven't we? So yeah, what am I trying to say? Little Big, decent, just not quite winner material. I don't know. Anyway, I'm really going to try and be quick now. 6th place, 81.71, so narrowly ahead of Russia. It's Malta. Destiny, former junior Eurovision winner, with all of my love. Malta turned a corner last year with Michaela. This song I think would have done better than Chameleon. Lots of people really loving it. It is contemporary pop, slick stuff. We know Destiny can sing. She would have nailed it live. What would the staging have been like? We'll never know, but I'm sure it would have helped her cause. If she had been on late in the running order, Malta would have done very well. But what's happened in recent years, for a very long time as a matter of fact, Malta has struggled in the public vote. So it would have been the juries that would have helped Destiny finish in the top 10. I feel pretty sure Malta would have finished in the top 10 this year because the song is really good. It's as simple as that. Let's move on. 5th place. With a mark of 83, it's Lithuania. Surely this would have been Lithuania's best result to date in the contest. Better than LT United with We Are the Winners. Surely. This song, The Roop on Fire, crushed the opposition in the Lithuanian national selection. And looking back, rightly so. I mean, this was just so good. It's quirky. It's not really a jokey song in the way that you could say Russia's song is a jokey entry, which makes me think in the jury half of the votes, The Roop would have done better than Little Big. And the public would have responded to this very warmly as well. You've got to think, most people watching the contest, if it had been going ahead next week, would have been listening/seeing this song for the first time. They would have found it really intriguing and funny and enjoyable. Lead singer, male, having a blast on stage. You've got the choreography. You've got that really catchy hook. It is a song that sticks in your head. Even though it's been out for months, it still feels fresh and original, and it would have done so well at the contest. Maybe it would have won, but for me, 5th place. Lithuania, if they keep sending songs in this vein, they're going to win sooner rather than later. 4th place is my personal favourite of the year, 85.42. It's Norway. This is Ulrika with Attention. This is so good, So good, and I still can't believe more people aren't saying that this could have won, because it could have won. The juries surely would have dished out the points for this in big numbers, because it is a very safe entry, admittedly, but Ulrika is such a fine singer, nailed it live at Melodic Grand Prix. She performed it at the Romanian national selection, she was great there too. That stripped back version in the Eurovision Home Concerts thing they've been doing on YouTube, also fantastic. Yeah, this is just on the money. Arguably stronger than Spirit in the Sky. I don't know, let me know your thoughts on that. Both of those songs very good, it's worth saying. But yeah, Norway usually do fairly well at Eurovision, bar the odd year. They're usually up there, you know, and I think attention definitely would have been pushing for the win. I would have been supporting it all the way. But realistically, 4th place seems about right. I mean, you could swap Lithuania and Malta and Russia around with Norway. These positions are not locked down. You know, they are interchangeable. But yeah, Norway's song, just fantastic. Such a brilliant ballad. The falling rain pyrotechnic effect, superb. Ulrika, hopefully she'll represent Norway one day. It might not be next year, but she deserves to be at Eurovision because she's such a fabulous musician. And Norway were onto something really special this year before the contest was cancelled. What a great shame. Anyway, it's a song that for me, I'm going to be listening to years from now. Superb. Anyway, the top 3. If you've been paying attention, you'll know which 3 countries are left. In 3rd place, arguably the most talked about entry of the year, so let's talk about things. It's Iceland. This could have been their best result ever. They could have won. This song went viral. Celebrities who had no concept of Eurovision whatsoever were saying that this was the bee's knees. Make of that what you will. 85.57 here. The Icelandic entry, Doughty and Gagna Magnith with Think About Things. This is just so quirky. It is a bit of a jokey entry, but again, maybe not quite in the way that Russia's song would be viewed as a jokey entry. Let me know your thoughts on that. Anyway, this is, for what many people would say, certainly the press in the UK would say, is typical Eurovision. It's just 3 minutes of fun and something that you'd only get at Eurovision, perhaps. This is a song where you've got Doughty there, and they're all wearing sort of green outfits with pixelated faces on them, and you've got that sort of awkward choreography which really works. This is fairly contemporary, but there's a whiff of the 80s about it, if you see what I mean, the instrumentation in particular. He wrote the song himself, it's about his young daughter. I really like the lyrics. I think this is really fun. And Iceland took a risk last year, and it sort of worked. They've took a risk this year, and I think it probably would have worked again. It could have won. Oh man, I'm telling you right now, I said this in my live stream yesterday. Was it yesterday or the day before? Anyway, I said it would be amazing if Eurovision was in Reykjavik. It would be the most special contest. And I'd try and go to it, absolutely. But yes, 3rd place for Iceland I think is maybe a little bit more realistic. Maybe the hype would have worn off next week if the contest had been going ahead. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. 2 countries left. 2nd place, Switzerland. This is Répondez-moi, Answer Me by John's Tears. He is Swiss-Albanian and Kosovan. Brilliant singer. What can you say about this guy? Big hair, beautiful voice, hitting those high notes that most musicians can only dream of. My word, those high notes at the end of this song, incredible. And he would have done it live. He's performed this song live. He's been excellent. He seems like a really likeable musician. And this song, artistic, monochrome music video, as he moves from room to room. It's quite sad, it's melancholic. There's a message behind this. And I made a video all about why Switzerland should win Eurovision 2020, had this year's contest not been cancelled. But in all honesty, thinking about it more carefully and making this prediction, would the Swiss have really won? Yes, maybe. 2nd place is not to be sniffed at, though, let's be honest. 89.57, narrowly behind the country in 1st place here. It's just such a beautiful song, haunting. The first 30 seconds draw you in, and it's hard for ballads to do that. But this song manages it. Best Swiss entry for a long time, arguably better than She Got Me. Very different song last year, of course. But Switzerland can do both, it seems. Turned a corner, like Malta last year. And hopefully the Swiss will not go back to the way they used to be, and they'll just keep sending quality and quality year after year. I believe John's Tears is back next year. Fantastic. and hopefully he'll have just as good a song, if not better, which means, ladies and gentlemen, you know which country's left. With a mark of 89.71, Bulgaria. This was the favourite to win at the time of the contest's cancellation. My personal thoughts on this song, bit overrated, but it's a really beautiful song, and if it had won, fair enough. This is Victoria, another promising young female musician with a great voice. She'll be back next year, a wise move from Bulgaria. This is Tears Getting Sober, again in the mould of Billie Eilish, a little bit similar to Romania in the sense that this is sad pop, for want of a better term. This would have struck a chord with so many people. The staging, I'm sure, would have been a little bit similar to the music video, so we might have had a lamppost and a bench on stage. Very Chronicles of Narnia, maybe. But anyway, this is a really, really beautiful song. Builds up very slowly but surely. The vocals would have been great. It's just a very pretty, fragile sort of song. But it works. And Bulgaria... sending quality once again, because this is a quality song. Let's be honest, this is a quality piece of music, and I can understand completely Bulgaria's annoyance at this year's contest being cancelled and Tears Getting Sober not being allowed to be in next year's contest, but there we are. Yeah, they might have won. It could have been Sofia 2021. It could have been, but we'll never know. Yeah, and it has to be said, I think Bulgaria, if this year's contest had been going ahead, I know I keep saying that, but if this year's contest had been taking place next week, I think Bulgaria would still be the favourites to win. And I think they probably would have won. They might have just pulled ahead after the second semi-final, in which Victoria would have performed next Thursday at the time of recording this. Yeah, a lot of people would have responded to this, the juries in particular. I think would have appreciated the simplicity of this and the beautiful nature of this song, and the public, I'm sure, would have responded highly to this as well. I don't know. You never know. We'll never know which songs would have flopped, which songs would have performed better than expected. But that's it. My word, if you've stayed to watch this whole thing, well done you, because my voice is driving me nuts right now. That's my prediction. I'll go through it again from bottom to top. Last, France, Mon Dieu. Then we have Spain, Armenia, Austria, Albania, the UK, Ukraine in 20th place, Greece, Poland, Serbia, Australia, Denmark in 15th place. Yes, Israel, Azerbaijan, the Netherlands in 12th, Romania, and then the top 10, Germany, Italy, Sweden, Russia, Malta, Lithuania, Norway, Iceland, Switzerland, and Bulgaria. Now, I could go into a little bit of depth here, but I'm not going to because this video is long enough in terms of the split results. Certainly, I've got the Netherlands and Malta and Sweden to finish higher, a few places higher, definitely, in the jury vote than in the public vote. And I've got Romania and Russia, definitely, to finish higher in the public vote by quite a margin than the jury vote. But otherwise, it's fairly similar. It's fairly similar. I mean, I took into consideration that little prediction I made, but also the one where I gave each country a mark out of 100 in various categories. So there we are. Yeah. In terms of the semi-final results, I may as well mention it here. Remember that I didn't really look at these results when I made my grand final prediction. I just sort of started from scratch again. But in semi-final 1, Norway would have won, in my opinion, according to this. Lithuania, Sweden, Russia, Malta, Romania, Azerbaijan, Australia, Israel and Ukraine. And then semi-final 2, Switzerland would have won ahead of Bulgaria. Iceland, Serbia, Denmark, Greece, Poland, Austria, Albania and Armenia. And I think I've got the non-qualifiers here as well. So I think Belgium would have finished 11th in semi-final 1. Then Cyprus, Ireland, Croatia, Macedonia, North Macedonia, Belarus and Slovenia last. And then semi-final 2, just narrowly, by a very, very small margin. Qualifying would have been Armenia, just missing out in 11th place, Latvia, then Georgia, Finland, Czech Republic, Estonia, Portugal, Moldova, and San Marino. And in terms of the split results, I think in semi-final 1 it would have been very even, but Russia would have done much better with the public, Sweden would have done much better with the juries, and I think Australia would have done better with the juries as well in semi-final 1. Semi-final 2, I think Finland would have done much better with the juries than the public. I think Armenia would have done better with the public than the juries, but otherwise fairly similar. The public winner in semi-final 1 Russia, and it would have been Norway for the juries, and last in both Slovenia. And then in semi-final 2, I think Bulgaria would have won the public vote, Switzerland would have won the jury vote, and it would have been San Marino last in both. Now I'm going to shut up. I really do apologise for how messy this video has been. I've filmed it all in one go. The quality is probably terrible. But let me know your thoughts. That's it. My prediction for what would have happened in Eurovision 2020, the grand final, had this year's contest been going ahead. My word, I'm now going to shut up and rest my voice. Let me know your thoughts, leave a comment, and if you've stayed to watch all 50 minutes of this, I thank you very much. I'll be back at some point soon with a video about Iceland at the Eurovision Song Contest, and I'll probably be talking about the replacement shows for this year's contest as well. Until next time, I really appreciate it. Would Bulgaria have won? We'll never know. Until next time, bye for now.